This is Rudy.
This is Flick.
We are up to episode 65. It is our 2020 holiday extravaganza. We are both very excited, are we not, Mr. Flick?
Yeah, I'm full of the holiday spirit and eggnog.
Yeah, ooh, careful now. Careful. I'm going to be honest, and I don't want to hit this point too hard but I can't avoid it. My real name is Rudolph. It's kind of a mixed season for me, but the music saves me. And I'm really excited. I'm more excited about the music than the holidays this year, to be honest with you. So, can't wait to get to my playlist, and I know you're ready to go too.
Yeah, I'm always ready for this. I'm a sucker, big sucker for holiday music. I big fan, and we'll have plenty to talk about.
We will do that next.
From his album With Clairvoyance, that is Richard Shirk with The Time Worm. That brings us in for episode 65 of the Left of the Dial podcast. This week it is a playlist featuring holiday music. I was going to call my playlist 12 Songs of Christmas. Actually, I did call it that, but I have a few bonus tracks, so not so much the 12.
I have to be honest. I was born with the name Rudolph, and so the holiday season is just generally not. I just don't love it that much. And it's not like it's that bad being named Rudolph, but just when I was a kid, it was just like, oh, this crap again. I don't know. I don't love the holidays as much as everybody else. I do love the music. So we're talking about what probably my favorite part of the holidays, other than maybe the travel. I don't know. That's about it. So pretty excited. I mean, again, just put yourself in my shoes. If you don't have to walk around the world in December named Rudolph, you just don't understand. You got to bear with me. But the music is the best part. I know, Flick, you're super big on the Christmas music. I think we're going to have a good list this week.
Super big, yeah, definitely. And I'm not. It is a time of year I like as well. As you get older, like I think you like the snow and cold weather a lot less than you did, or at least I did when I was a kid. I used to love that. I used to love literally everything about this time of year, and now I still love a lot of the things about this time of year.
I think if winter ended in like mid-January, I think everyone would love it. I think everyone would love it. It's those last 2 or 3 months that I think are the real bring down. So this you're right. This is like peak winter. Everything's still going the right direction, and I think this year kind of some mixed feelings because there's a lot of people. The holidays are not really going to be the same this year, but we are all ready for 2020 to go. Like that might be the last thing we all agree on is it's time for 2020 to go.
It's true, yeah, yeah, and a lot of different. A lot of differences this year in the way people are going to be celebrating the holidays, but I think one thing you can always go to make the season bright is music, and that's what we're here to help with.
Well, since you are you're certainly more jolly than I'm going to in the spirit of giving, I'm going to allow you to go first, my friend.
All right. Well, there is one song that I start my Christmas playlist with literally every single year. So naturally, that is where I'm going to go to first for my playlist. Again, it's the 12 Songs of Christmas. There's going to be some bonus tracks, considerable bonus tracks on my playlist, but I'm going to center it around 12 songs. If there's a single song that I will require for my Christmas listening, and you only give me one, it's going to be this one. And it's from my favorite Christmas album of all time as well. But the song is "Christmas Baby Please Come Home" by Darlene Love. It is from the Christmas Gift for You from Phil Spector. We don't need to go into, I don't think, Phil Spector as a person. He certainly not not somebody that you want to commend as a human being.
He's really
But
more of a Grinch, I would say.
well, yeah, that's an understatement, I would say. But Phil Spector, not a good human being. Can't say it any better than that. But this is my favorite Christmas album of all time, and and I'm going to give him his credit for being the architect of the Wall of Sound, which is so much of what makes this album so great. Certainly he always had a hand in a lot of the songwriting as well, and but the people that participated in it shouldn't be short shrifted on that either. Darlene Love, of course, doing the lead vocal here. You have the Wrecking Crew as
Yeah.
the studio musicians, Hal Blaine and Carol Kane, and the Wrecking Crew, of course, were so much of what made this stuff so great. But it it and also I do want to mention too that the contributions that this particular song made to other pop culture artifacts. For instance, it opens the movie Gremlins, and if nothing else, just that, like even if you come away from Gremlins thinking, this movie kind of sucked or whatever, I don't know. To me, you have to love the opening sequence of the movie just because it featured this song. Like that, it just best Christmas song ever. And going back to bonus tracks, I'm going to sneak in some bonus tracks here on the because the Filter album was really like the blueprint, I think, for a lot of things that came after it. Whether it be Christmas songs or even going beyond to all times of the year, but especially Christmas songs. Obviously, the Phil Spector stuff was a big influence on Brian Wilson, and I think a big influence on the Beach Boys Christmas album. So as a bonus track, I'm going to include the Beach Boys' Merry Christmas Baby from the Beach Boys Christmas album. Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, I think also heavily influenced by the Phil Spector album as well as
Oh yeah.
the Phil Spector stuff in general. So couple of bonus tracks along with that, with my first track, which is, again, Darlene Love and Christmas Baby Please Come Home from A Christmas Gift for You from Phil Spector.
It is amazing on it. It is amazing how Christmassy it is because it really is just Phil Spector's sound, that band sound, with some extra sleigh bells and maybe a little more glockenspiel. It is
Yeah.
amazing how it's just like that. Frosty the Snowman from that is synonymous with Christmas for me. Like just that sound in the background. I don't know. I guess it was considered sort of slight in its time that it's like a rock and roll Christmas record. How many rock and roll Christmas records were there by the time that album came out? Most bands like the Beatles were just doing cruddy like fan club records for Christmas. It's like a real full album.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of those to compare it to in rock and roll. I agree with you, sir. Um, I think we're going a little on the nose here early, and I'm fine with that. I'm going to go as on the nose as I can in my stuff here. I'm going to get it out of the way. It's my Christmas gift to all of you, as I'll stop talking about Bob Dylan early today. But I love "Must Be Santa" from his album "Christmas in the Heart." I actually like "Christmas in the Heart" all the way through. Of all these albums he's made since like 1992 or what, I can't remember when he started producing all of his own stuff. Like, is Love and Theft like late 90s, mid 90s, whenever that is? He also does use the name Jack Frost, now that I think about it, when he produces his own stuff. I'm not surprised he's super festive at Christmas. Must Be Santa apparently is. I didn't know the song until I heard it from him, and now I feel like everybody loves this song. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It is the best song on Christmas, and even though Christmas in the Heart is good, none of it can touch Must Be Santa. What's Flick? You were telling me earlier. You told me when I asked you earlier. What's the name of the lead singer of the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones?
Dickie Barrett.
Dickie Barrett. Yeah, this is as close to the Dickie Barrett range as Bob has. I think. Must be Santa. I think especially if you hear some of those phrases at the end there, it sounds like he's chewing gravel. I think he needed some time off after Christmas in the Heart, but he left it all out on the field, and I think Must Be Santa's fantastic.
Yeah, and I guess I hadn't heard anybody else do this song before Bob Dylan, so I thought it was his, but it's not. It is a cover. So where does the original come from? I guess I will find that out. But Mitch Miller. Okay, so Mitch Miller did it in 1960.
Wow, Mitch Miller. Bob Dylan covering Mitch Miller. That's very political. That's extraordinarily subversive. Mitch Miller, I don't think, had very nice things to say about Bob in the early days at Columbia.
Yeah, so written by Hal Moore and Bill Fredericks, and first released by Mitch Miller in 1960, and based on a German drinking song, which you know sounds
like there's another kind.
Well, yeah, but it also, you know, I don't know the Mitch Miller version, but that the Bob Dylan version does also sound like a German drinking song, so it doesn't sound like he changed up the arrangement in any way, I would guess.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Boy, Bob Dylan covering Frank Sinatra and Mitch Miller. Strange planet, man.
Yeah, but an interest. I like Must Be Santa. I might have to find the Mitch Miller version. I'm gonna guess that I like the Bob Dylan version more, but anyway, I think it is a pretty cool. I don't know, cool might not be the right word, but it is an enjoyable song. And
do you think Bob Dylan owns the Mitch Miller album? Like, did he own it in 1960? Do you think? Is it possible?
I don't know. I don't know because yeah, I mean. Know that I figured that Bob Dylan was always into Christmas music.
Yeah, and I also, I mean, if you live in Hibbing, Minnesota, like stuff like Winter Wonderland wears off in October, right? Like, so I'm guessing it's not particularly festive after. Because again, by the time you've hit Christmas in Hibbing, you're 2 months into this crap, right? Of just snow and ice and crud. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, plus he was Jewish, so I don't think he was probably celebrating the Christmas holiday.
That's true, although again, Bob's spirituality is such where he certainly is mercurial, I think is the nice word for it. He was an omnivore, he was a sponge, you just never know. You just never know. He was listening to a lot of country music too, like you just never know.
Yeah, no, you never know. And I mean, Christmas is one of those things that, you know, everybody, even if they don't celebrate it, it's really omnipresent. It isn't really something that I think you avoid, even if it isn't something that your family celebrates. So you do have some engagement with it, probably. But yeah, I mean, this was an interesting album. I don't know, you know, like you said that perhaps I think this is what you're implying, that perhaps it is being sort of recontextualized. When I think it's safe to say when it came out that everybody thought it was just a joke or something.
Yeah. I don't think people think that anymore. I think of all of his self-produced records, it's actually the strongest like sound. It sounds great.
Well, and I dare say that, you know, the fact that it's a 15-track album shows that he was somewhat serious about it. He wasn't just trying to crank out a product. You know, like he could have just put out 8 songs and said, well, that's an album, if he wanted to do that. And yeah, I don't know what the if he had ulterior motives here, I don't know what they would be. It's not really something that would have benefited him in any way, and I don't think it was going to be, you know, it's not going to sell the way a Mariah Carey Christmas album would. So
I am pretty sure I could go onto Bob Dylan Twitter and find at least one person who will try with a straight face to make the case it's the greatest album he ever made. There's somebody who'll make that case for everything he's done. If you could give me a 20 demo loop of Wiggle Wiggle, and I bet I could get somebody on Bob Dylan Twitter to call it a masterpiece. So who knows? You either like him or you don't, but you got to give that a try.
Wiggle wiggle, the constant touchstone here.
All
By the
right.
way,
Yes.
since I see an opportunity to put in another bonus track, since
Oh.
I thought of Mariah Carey, I'm going to put "All I Want for Christmas Is You" because that also is very Phil Spector influenced. So I'm gonna stick
Don't
that
you
in
think
as
that's a
a.
lonely song? Don't you think there's a little bit of I mean, like I don't know. Lyrically, that's not my. I don't know. All right. Yes, I will. I'm going to permit
Complete
it,
your
but
thought.
I couldn't stop it. No, I don't want to because we're staying positive. It's holidays. There are certain. Look, you're basically you asked for it, now you got it because you went sidebar there, and now we have to talk about Wonderful Christmas Time because it's not on either of our lists, and you and you open
What,
the door to the sidebar there. You have to
what
allow it.
what was the door that got open for it?
The
I
Mariah
don't.
Carey by going back and doing bonus tracks that involve Mariah Carey. Look, the reason I'm not super festive on the Mariah Carey stuff is for the same reason I'm not on the Paul McCartney. Well, maybe there's a couple
Well,
different
no.
reasons, but
Yeah, but you do see that song. I don't really know if I've ever even heard the whole album. But the song "All I Want for Christmas Is You" definitely has that Spectre sound to it.
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I see what you did there, but I feel like you pushed the bounds of good taste there. So it's that was my in,
Mm,
and we're
I
too far. We're too
I
far.
did
We have to talk
no,
about it now.
I disagree. I'm not going to be one to push for Mariah Carey material all that often. But no, I think that's a decent enough pop song. I think that's a quality tune.
Well, so are you saying we're not going to talk about Paul McCartney's "Wonderful Christmas Time"? Because I'm proud I'm proud of you for not having it on your list. I thought there was a chance you'd go curmudgeon there and include it because you know it drives me insane.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you want to talk about how it drives you insane, you can, I guess. But
Right. It does
I,
drive me insane. I walked into the store today. No, I had to get blood drawn today, and I go in to get my blood drawn, and that's playing. I don't know. It's terrible. He must not have Paul McCartney must not have a lot of close friends because a close friend would tell you, don't put that out. Don't do that. And then it's got to be compounded by all the people playing it over and over and over again. We were talking about the Spotify streaming era is also different for holiday music too. Not every band had new holiday music every holiday season. Maybe in Britain they did, but here they really didn't. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think "Wonderful Christmas Time" always gets played just because it's a big name artist at a Christmas song, not because it's good. Does anybody really like it?
I don't know. I think it's all right. I don't
Yeah.
think it's I don't think it's I don't think it's prime McCartney. I don't think it's bad McCartney. I think it's somewhere in the middle. It has it has a strong enough melody to it, and it's
All right.
if you
I'll drop it. I'll drop it. But I
yeah.
have one question, and I'll let you off the hook. But you must answer it. On a desert island, do you take "Wonderful Christmas Time" or "Spies Like Us"? You can only have one. You
Well,
know
I
the
know which
answer
one
is
you're gonna
"Spies
take.
Like Us."
I know which one you're gonna take. So I
Of
guess
course.
I yeah if I'm really going to give that some thought, I might go with "Wonderful Christmas Time" because I think the fact that the chorus just talks about spies like us, and that doesn't make much sense to me. Like I think that would grate on me after a while if I had to listen to it a lot.
Are you telling me "Wonderful Christmas Time" on a desert island, like maybe some tropical island somewhere, having to listen to that constantly, that's not going to get to you either? Really?
Well, yeah, I don't think those are the two Paul McCartney songs that you want on a desert island for sure.
I just hope I don't get stuck on you. If I get stuck on a desert island with you and you have "Wonderful Christmas Time" and the means to play it and you choose to play it, only one of us are getting off alive. I don't know which. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you.
I think I think if you're going to give both of those songs repeated listens,
Hmm.
I think "Wonderful Christmas Time" is going to win out in the end. That's what I believe. But this is between those two songs, those
Hmm.
two specific songs, and that's the way that it should be taken.
Okay, man. I just I think you're hot taking me. That's what it is. I think I've just been hot taken. I'll live with it though. It's your turn.
All right, hot take me on.
Yeah. Hot take on me. Let's get it right.
Well, it's first hot take on me, then it's hot take me on. I'll be gone.
I'm going to take your word on that. You're the
Hot
SME.
Hot take, I'll be gone. Okay, so my my second one, we're only up to two after that.
Good, great. It's going well.
Yeah. Okay, another one of my favorite all-time Christmas albums, and one I'm just going to say right now, this is two bonus tracks, but the first track, or one bonus track. I'm sorry, two tracks. The album here is "Someday at Christmas" by Stevie Wonder, released in 1967. Of course, well, technically not on Motown because it was on Tamla, but of course that's Motown. The song for my number two is "What Christmas Means to Me." Pretty well known tune, but I think just for the purposes, of the way I construct my playlist, I like that second track to keep the energy going up, and I think that does that. And I am going to double dip because this is because of Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, do I really need to say more than that?
No, you do not.
I do also want to have the title track "Someday at Christmas." One of my all-time favorites, like since child, pretty much all of these are favorites since childhood. But I would say "Someday at Christmas" is one of my early favorites, and so that needs to have a place on my list as well.
Can't argue. Yeah,
so that's argue. Like my number two, and then "Someday at Christmas" will be toward the later part of the list.
Yep. There's never going to be a time where Stevie Wonder is not welcome. Up next for me, I am going to go back to the mid 80s. The word emo, I don't think was around then. Goth was around, but it meant something a little different. It was a little more Bauhaus type stuff. I don't know exactly. The word dream pop did not exist then, but the Cocteau Twins did. And, if you're that uncomfortable kind of goth teenager, but you're not old enough to have either plans of your own or the means to do anything on your own, and then you get dressed up like goth and you go to family holiday gatherings, those are really interesting times. When you're a teenage weirdo, which I was, and you're incapable of shame as I was, yes, you'd go to family gatherings in your full emo uniform. And there's very little Christmas music for that community. For the teenage emo community, not a ton at that time. One of the few lifelines was the Cocteau Twins, Frosty the Snowman. Liz Fraser takes some shit for the way she sings, and she shouldn't. She's a luminary. She and the Cocteau Twins, I understand they're not for everybody, and I understand there are some folks who just can't get with the things she does, but I would say, I think this is a cover, so it's more straightforward in terms of her singing style. As we were talking about this, or I was, just because I'm fascinated by this stuff. I'm fascinated that young people today are still buying Cocteau Twins records. It makes me feel happy, and the fact that this song is showing up on so many Christmas playlists among people who were, not even whose parents were kids when it came out, makes me happy. I don't know if we can ever do a Cocteau Twins show, but I would love to do like a 4AD record show. I think Cocteau Twins are one of the very, very few like British indie bands that'll be important in 100 years. I could be wrong. That could be a hot take, but if you don't know who they are, go listen to Cocteau Twins, Frosty the Snowman, and if you like that sort of thing, you'll dig them. One side note, we forgot to do this in the we forgot to mention this, Mr. Flick. I'm calling an audible here. One of the Cocteau Twin records I would recommend, although it's a little maybe at the ambient extreme of their catalog, is they did make a nice record with Harold Budd. Harold Budd passed away this week. I don't know. He sort of escapes classification. He made, I think he made the second Music for Airports record with Brian Eno, but he made a lot of really good ambient music Not that I listen to a ton of it, but the stuff I do listen to, it's a pretty high likelihood it was Harold Budd. So if you like the Cocteau Twins, Frosty the Snowman at all, try their record with Harold Budd and see if you dig that too. I mean, that is like a necro, it's like a slow. I'll put it that way. It's a somnambulant. It is definitely it's a mood. But half the country's getting snowed in tonight. It's a perfect night for a Cocteau Twins and Harold Budd record. So give them a try. See what you think.
All right, my number 3 is Angels We Have Heard on High. Obviously a pretty old Christmas song, but very different take on it by the band Duvall on their Christmas album, Oh Holy Night. You might not know Duvall, but you might know the band that preceded them, which would be the Smoking Popes, a Chicago band. Power pop, punk pop. I guess punk pop wasn't so much a thing at the time, although I guess it is around the same time as Green Day. But of course, it was before, I don't know, the Blink 182 or whatever came after that. I don't know. I consider them more of a power pop, but I guess punk pop is apt as well. Band. And if you don't know them, they're definitely worth checking out. A lot of great stuff from the Smoking Popes albums. They had like a minor breakup. They retained most of the band members, but enough of a breakup to the point where they changed their name to Duvall around the time of this album in the early 2000s. This album came out in 2004. And one of my favorite, another one of my favorite, definitely a newer one of my favorite Christmas albums, but there isn't a bad thing on this album at all. And I especially love Angels We Have Heard on High, but also they do a great version of Do You Hear What I Hear? Two of my big Christmas time staples every single year.
I'm going to do a little jazz pick here. I couldn't pick one, so I'm going to pick three folks from John Coltrane's great original quartet. John Coltrane's version of Greensleeves is, to me, transcendent and amazing. I don't know anything really about jazz. I just know what I like. I really do like John Coltrane. I've read a few interviews from him, and in one of them he talks about how much he loved playing songs in 3/4 time, which is what My Favorite Things is in as well, which is his signature song. And I prefer My Favorite Things to Greensleeves by Coltrane, but he's having a great time, and it's just an amazing performance. It's one of my favorites by him. Silent Night by the McCoy Tyner Trio. I can't remember what album it's originally on. It's on a lot of compilations. McCoy Tyner was the great pianist who was in Coltrane's quartet before Alice Coltrane was. And McCoy Tyner, one of the greatest people to ever sit down at a piano. His version of Silent Night is spectacular. It has a pocket. And then Elvin Jones Quintet, Santa Claus Are Coming to Town. Not an expert on drums. I like what I like. I do think Elvin Jones is probably the greatest drummer of all time, at least to my ears. Rashid Ali, who replaced him, probably the second greatest drummer of all time. I know there are people who know more about that who would correct me, but Elvin Jones Quintet, Santa Claus Coming to Town, Silent Night from McCoy Tyner, and Greensleeves from John Coltrane. I think those would warm any Grinch. And if you don't like them, I just don't think you like music or people. That's all I can say.
All right. My next one, jazz kind of leads into this a little bit, but not a jazz artist, definitely. But Alex Chilton, one of my favorites, and by the way, a person who has a birthday or did have a birthday on December 28th, so right around Christmas time. Another one of my favorite all-time Christmas songs, going back to when it was released on the album Clichés in 1993. Clichés kind of deep into Alex Chilton's solo career. And by the way, the album not on Spotify if you're going to look it up that way. But the song that his version of a Christmas song is available on Spotify through a compilation. So it isn't included on my playlist through that. But originally that appeared on Clichés from 1993. And this song, as well as his version of "My Baby Just Cares for Me" on Cliches, I, I think really exhibit how underrated Alex Chilton was as a guitar player. He plays both of them on a nylon string classical guitar, and I remember hearing those and just thinking, I want to give the nylon string guitar a shot here and see what I can do with it. Can't do what he could do, but I mean, what he did sounded so great. And two of my favorite examples of Alex Chilton's guitar playing, which I think is considerable and definitely underrated.
I second that. Definitely. Again, he was a frustrated musician in a lot of ways, and sometimes his guitar playing comes across with that emotion on top of it. But yeah, he's underrated on almost everything. Did the Box Tops do a Christmas record? Do you know off the top of your head whether they
No,
did?
I don't know of any Christmas recordings by
All
them.
right.
Definitely
Well,
not an album, and not any singles that I'm aware of.
well, I will defer to you on all matters, Alex Chilton. My favorite thing, and I'll make it my turn here to do this one. My favorite thing, the only thing I can really think of that I really honestly could include on this list, from Big Star's Third, which is not an album to play at your holiday party. I'm not trying to insinuate in any way that Big Star's Third is a good holiday listen in general, but the song Jesus Christ on there is, I think, one of his most beautiful songs. I think the sax solo is
Hmm.
beautiful. I think
Yep.
his vocal tone, he has, I mean, if you think about like Soul Deep and all that early growly, blind dog Chilton stuff he was doing early on, I really do feel, even though the third Big Star's Third is a painful time in his life, I just don't think I just don't think the sweetness in this song is fake. I am a little, I'm not sure this is ever going to be pulled out and played as a sacred favorite at Vespers, but it's I do think it's reverent. I don't think it I mean, he does a lot of snarky records. The We're Gonna Get Born Now, I don't know. Maybe that's a judgment call as to which way he's going there, but I feel it's reverent and it's beautiful and inspired and is it if it's not the greatest Christmas record in the world because it's not seasonal per se. It's about Jesus Christ and
Mhm.
Jerusalem. So I don't know. I don't know if it's for everybody, but I just don't think he's ever sounded his voice never sounded sweeter. And the songwriting is at the tip top of what he did, in my humble estimation. It
Yeah, yeah, and a quick tie-in. And I agree with everything you said. I love this song. I mean, there isn't anything Big Star I don't love,
Yeah.
but I do particularly love this song. And tying it back to the Duvall record that I just talked about, they also have a version of Jesus Christ on that album that's very good. And Josh Caterer, formerly of Duvall and currently, and like Smoking Popes got together after Duvall happened, so they got back together. So Josh Caterer, currently of Smoking Popes, um, uh, did Jesus Christ with Jody Stevens and Chris Damian and the Big Star Third band, which did like a tour a few years ago. Did that as part of that live show when I saw them in Chicago, and it was great.
Yeah, I think your feelings are that you have all the Big Star records have a special place in your heart. Big
Oh
Star's
yeah,
Third is my favorite by a mile, and it's not in any small part due to the song Jesus Christ. I just it's great. It's top form for him.
yeah. I mean, it's tough to differentiate. It's like trying to say, what's better, Rubber Soul or White Album or Abbey Road. Those are all like top level.
Yeah.
That's the way the Big Star albums are to me. I don't no nobody's winning by a country mile because it's impossible to it's impossible for Usain Bolt to beat what Carl Lewis
Right,
or
right, right, right.
by of course if both of them are in their prime. And by the way, when you look up Big Star's Third on Wikipedia and look at the personnel on the sessions,
Yes.
there isn't a saxophone player listed, so it's hard to know who that was. But we'll see. We'll see if I can find out by the end of the
Oh,
show.
I'd like to know that because I actually think it's a really nice solo. I mean, I
Yeah.
played saxophone when I was young. I was never any good, but I haven't. I enjoy the sound. I've always got an ear for it, and I don't know if it's like super heavy on chops or technique. It's just beautiful. It fits
Well,
perfectly.
that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter. You can have the greatest technique in the world, but if you don't have any taste, it doesn't really matter. And that's a very tasteful solo. It's letter perfect, really.
Yeah, I agree.
All
You're
right.
up.
So my next song, the next song on my list would actually be "Someday at Christmas" by Stevie Wonder. I already talked about that.
Well,
So the next one that I will talk about here is "Merry Christmas, Everybody" by Slade, released as a single in 1973. Not as popular in the States. I don't really know that it is all that popular in the States, really. But in the UK, it is one of the all-time greatest Christmas singles and has sold 1.3 million copies. So very popular in the UK. Um, I, I really not only do I think this is a great song, I think like this is one of the best Slade songs ever, and I like Slade a great deal. I think this is I think it's a big seller in the UK for a good reason. It's a great song.
it's no my oh my. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I gotta be in the mood. I think on the Slade. I got you. Gotta be in the mood for Slade. When you're in the mood for Slade, they're the best in the world. And when you're not, you're like, oh God, not this stuff. I can't believe I listened to this.
I won't concur. I can always listen to it.
Always, huh?
Yeah.
Run away is good. All right. For me, I'm gonna go. This is a bit of a. I don't know. If the judge yells foul here, I would do the McEnroe, and I'd give you the business lick. I'm gonna go with Blank Expression by the Specials from their debut
I knew
album.
that's what it was going to be when you
Yeah.
gave Gamble.
It technically doesn't say the word Christmas in it or holiday. I don't think it does. But I believe, I mean, we know it's snowing, and we know that the going out for a night on the town, there's no one out. Like it's a weird night, right? Like you know those nights where you go out and you do stuff that's normally busy and there's no one there. It's usually a holiday or bad weather. It's possible this is just a bad weather song, but I've always associated this song with being one of the only songs written about one of the stranger phenomena when you're a young person, which is like when you go to college or you leave home, you go to the military, where or you're off on your first job or whatever, and you leave your hometown for a couple of years, or you don't see people from your hometown for a couple of years, and then you come back around the holidays after not being in your hometown for a long time, and you start seeing people from like high school and grade school, maybe an ex, maybe a friend who's not really a friend anymore. There's like an uncomfortable energy sometimes around the holidays of like you kind of got a new life going and you're confronted with parts of your old life that you probably want to leave behind. I don't know. I just have never heard anybody really write a song that captured those sort of very holiday-like feelings. At least they are for me. And I think Blank Expression does it and does it really well. The first Specials record is to me among the best of the era for sure. And this wasn't a single, so people don't talk about it as much because they were such a great singles band. I don't think Blank Expression was a single, but it should have been. It's a little slow by their standards. It's not ska, and you can't pogo to it, so maybe people didn't like it. But God, I love that first Specials record, and I think Blank Expression is just it's one of the all-time great holiday songs. At least it is for me. I'm a weirdo.
All right. Okay. So I wasn't able to find out a saxophone player for that for the.
I'll look. Your turn.
Well, yeah, I don't think you're going to find it, but you can go ahead and try. But I it did remind me that I wanted to say something about Third. So you talked about how it wasn't a great time in Chilton's life. I did watch a couple of very lengthy interviews with Jim Dickinson recently, where he talked about the recording sessions for Third. And one thing that he mentioned was that people take that to be more of a dreary album than it was actually intended to be, and it's in large part because of the running orders that have been put upon it, because they weren't really the originally intended running orders for the songs, and he's according to him that really changes the feeling that you get from the album.
All right, well, I'm gonna keep doing some research here. I thought I was on a winner. I haven't found it yet. You're gonna have to take your turn so that I may continue my exhaustive research.
Okay, so no response to the running order thing.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I defer on these matters with you because again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know this stuff like you do. Like again, I'm the weirdo who got to Big Star from like This Mortal Coil. You know what I mean? Like I definitely came in that way, and my opinions about Third, I do think it's a bit of a bummer. The album is a bummer.
Yeah, I think though that he could be somewhat right about the running order of having that effect on the way you feel from it. Although there are some unquestionably, I mean, it's certainly a moody record.
Yeah, you know what? I should read more about it. I don't know how I feel. Um, as I get older, like I'm finding myself all those records that I listened to when I was young, Blood on the Tracks, Big Star's Third, these albums in which the singer is clearly in some sort of distress, emotional pain or distress. I am finding it less and less easy to listen to that stuff recreationally, right? You know what I mean? Like I just starting to have an aversion to some of the more extremes of the stuff I liked when I was younger. I'm kind of going through a period where I'm not sure I feel about Third. But to your point, the first side I think is pretty. I don't know. You're right. Now that I think about it, I need to. You know what? I need to go to the lab and I need to spend some time in 2021 with Big Star's Third, and I'll come back ready to go.
Yeah, the only thing that I think he mentioned specifically is that "Thank You Friends" is supposed to be the opening track, and "Take Care" is supposed to be the ending track, which is kind of obvious, I think. Um, I don't really know that he laid it out any more than that, but it's supposed to start with "Thank You Friends."
Yeah. I think the first version of that record I ever had was the Ryko disc version, but there's been so many versions of it too with different extras and all that other stuff. Is the only real pressing of the definitive version that anybody can get their hands on, is it the record store day one, or is there like just a straight ahead pressing of what the original record was somewhere?
Yeah, I mean it was never put out the way that they envisioned it to be until maybe the record store version. Record store
So
day.
the only copy that was in the order, the right order, was those test pressings that were not really given out.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to read up on it. It's a tough one. That's a tough one. It is a great song, though. I'm not sad we're talking about Big Star's Third this much.
All right, so my next one is Father Christmas by the Kinks, originally released in 1977 as a B-side to Prince of the Punks. I think as it turns out, it had the longer shelf life than Prince of the Punks did. Yeah, actually, taking a look at it, it's been covered a ton of times. I had no idea. I know I've never heard a cover of it I like all that much, but maybe there's one out there. And Warrant among the bands that have covered this song.
Well, then there is one you do like.
Yeah, and Smash Mouth has covered it. So
Whoa! Hopefully, as a double A side somewhere.
yeah, there are some good bands here though too that have covered it. Cheap Trick has covered it. I've never heard the Cheap Trick version of it. Gigolo Aunts, Green Day, Bad Religion, Letters to Cleo. So yeah, seems to be big with a lot of Boston bands. And I can understand why, and that's why it's on my list. It also, I think, picks up nicely after Slade's "Merry Christmas, Everybody."
I'm going to say it's Carl Marsh. Played.
Carl Marsh played the saxophone.
Well, I don't actually have receipts here, but in the Discogs entry for the original pressing on PVC records, Carl Marsh is listed as having played reeds, woodwind, and synthesizer, but he's only listed as having played that on For You. So maybe he didn't play it on the whole thing, but did they really go get another saxophone player for that?
I don't know. This might be an ongoing thing.
I don't know. Someone out there, we could just call down there and ask. They'd answer the phone and they'd tell you.
If anybody knows, email us at leftofthedialpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, I am interested, but we are going to call down there. We'll just drive down.
Find us on Instagram and direct message us or whatever.
All right, up for me next. I'm on like a Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings kick lately. It's not that I wasn't before. It's that for some reason it just took some time off. It just hasn't been a regular thing in my ears. And there's a new like covers record compilation that came out fairly recently. It has an absolutely smoking version of "Take Me With You" by Prince. That's not what we're doing here today.
Sidebar.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, Free Fire Zone. You got me. So I'm grabbing Funky Little Drummer Boy by Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. I don't think you could possibly be in the business they were in without putting out a Christmas record. And I think their Christmas record, It's a Holiday Soul Party, is aptly billed as a holiday soul party. If you have even a mild amount of interest in a holiday soul party, you will not be disappointed. If you don't know, that's pretty much true though of every record they put out. They're all soul parties. This one's just holiday. There's tons of stuff on there.
Is it out of bounds to put a bonus track on your list?
No, well, it's not out of bounds. It Ain't No Chimneys in the Projects? Because that's the one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I went back and forth about that because that's a great. I mean, that's a song which should be covered more. It's a great premise for a Christmas song.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say anything. Literally, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings are a band I don't think anyone could say anything bad about. So let's leave it at that. It's just a great little album to have on in the background as you're getting your presents wrapped.
Yeah. If my list wasn't bursting at the seams as it is, I'm having a hard time. I have literally more than 100 of these that I would like to get on my list. But yeah, Chimneys in the Projects by Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings if we're here next year or the year after that, it'll make one of my lists. It will definitely make one of my lists.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. Not much room at the end, so to speak, this year.
That's so meta of you. I'm writing this one down. Go ahead. It's your turn.
Okay. All right. Another one of my all-time favorite Christmas albums, and another Christmas album where there isn't really anything I don't like on it. Kind of amazing. I think I don't know if your approach to the show is that a lot of this stuff is throwaway material, and if it is, you're probably not listening right now. But if that happens to be the case and you are listening, hopefully I can sell you on the fact that there's a lot of great stuff out there. There is a lot of throwaway stuff. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but there's definitely enough A material and B material to go around. Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. Christmas with Buck Owens and his Buckaroos is the title of the album. Again, nothing not to like here. I love it from start to finish. The song that's making my list, and by the way, released in 1965 by Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. Christmas Ain't Christmas is the song that makes my list. There are a lot of good candidates from that album, though.
I'm going to keep it Bakersfield here. Have you ever been to the Crystal Palace, by the way, in Bakersfield?
I've never been to Bakersfield.
What?
Yeah.
I'd be careful who you tell that to. You know what I mean? You lose your swag when you go telling that people.
It's a long way from here. So, someday, God willing.
Yeah, Bakersfield is the butt of many jokes. And I really enjoy Bakersfield, and I really enjoy CA99. I like Fresno, too. I like what's the one at the top? Reading. I like Reading. Reading's nice. Anyway, I feel like I have to take you now to Bakersfield. so we can go on Merle Haggard Drive
Yeah, I'll
and go
go.
to the Buck Owens restaurant.
I'll go.
This is
I'm
all
out.
good times. Well,
I'm
I'm
down.
gonna do. Yeah, I know you are, and yeah, because then you can listen to what's the Rolling Stones song from Some Girls where you're driving home through Bakersfield. There's more
Oh,
Bakersfield.
girl with the faraway eyes.
Yeah, there's more Bakersfield. There's more good music for Bakersfield than you might think for a playlist. Phoebe Bridgers is doing very well in the press this year for especially best album, best song type stuff this year. I've listened to her on and off. Her talent is she's a very very gifted singer, and she also has some
And
good holiday music for
and
somebody.
and songwriter too.
Songwriter too, right? Although, like, I have to confess, I think the first thing, I listened to her was from her was her cover of "Friday I'm in Love" by The Cure. I'm kind of a poser about this stuff. Like, I do start with covers sometimes, but working way through her stuff, she's definitely top shelf stuff. And again, one of these young female artists who is just only getting better. She has good taste in covers so far. I'm very encouraged. She put out a cover of Merle Haggard's "If We Make It Through December." I don't know, the idea of Phoebe getting laid off down at the plant in December, that's a little bit of a stretch. But she clearly loves the song, and she means it, and it sounds great
Yeah.
in like a mix of songs. And if you haven't paid attention to her, give her a listen. Just
You
she deserves your ear.
you have to know a good song to be able to write a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not sure where you're going with the keeping it Bakersfield because I was like thinking she's from Southern California, but she's not from
No,
Bakersfield.
straight
Um,
Merle.
yeah, okay, yeah, no, it came around. I wasn't sure if it was going to come around, but it makes sense. It made sense in the end. Okay, so we are up to 9 right now. Uh, something that hasn't come up as often as I would have thought it would have come up in our show so far. There have been quite a few things I would say, but this is one of them. Goner Records. And now that I say that, I'm not entirely sure this was a Goner Records release, but I think it was. Raining Sound, of course, did stuff on Goner, but they have recorded or put out stuff on other labels as well. But anyway, Raining Sound is next on my list. If Christmas Can't Bring You Home, specifically the version that's on Home for Orphans, there are other versions of it out there. My favorite is definitely the Home for Orphans version. Greg Cartwright is just always great. He's always great, and I love this song, and definitely has to make my short list here.
It took a lot of work for you to get down to your 12. I admire you. I'll keep this one quick so you can get back into it. And I don't want to be, nobody needs to be tuned into a podcast to be told to go listen to all the old nuggets. But there is an old holiday nugget you should go listen to because it's there. It's Bing Crosby's Mele Kalikimaka. If you don't like it, like I get it. It's a little cringy, and I imagine.
It's
No, you're not feeling that?
Well, no, I was just going to mention that it's the have you seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
I have.
Okay, yeah, it's the song that plays on the soundtrack when Clark is envisioning his swimming pool in the backyard.
Yeah, but that's what it's for, right? Like, and
Right, yeah.
admittedly, I'm a tourist everywhere I go. So, having that feeling of, hey, I walked around listening to that song in my headphones. It's just like the movie. I am the kind of dunce who does do that stuff. So, yes, when I went to Hawaii in December, of course I made sure I had Bing Crosby and every other version of this song that I could find. And you know what? Driving around Hawaii in December in a Jeep, like with the top down, listening to that is one of the most righteous, awesome feelings in the world. And if it makes me corny, too bad. It's great. It's fun. And if you go to Hawaii in December and you don't listen to that, why'd you go? You're totally not getting your equity. So, look, I could do 10 Bing Crosby songs. I think that's easily the most fun of them for sure. So I had to mention it because I love it. And it sounds great, and it makes me feel that the holiday feels everybody has, I get pretty close to with that one on.
All right. My next one is okay. So this one is pretty well known. I could have left it off my list because you probably know it already and whatever, but it fits my list pretty well. So just going for kind of the feel I want from start to finish, I think it works pretty well coming out of If Christmas Can't Bring You Home by Raining Sound. It's Christmas All Over Again by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It's kind of got everything I think you want in a rock Christmas song, which is natural. It's I think it's the kind of thing that Tom Petty can roll out of bed and could have rolled out in bed and done. It works so well though that it just has to make my list. Yeah, and the combination, and again, I guess I could have thrown this in as one of my Phil Spector bonus tracks because this is another one of those cases where it's very heavily influenced by that Phil Spector Christmas album.
I'm going to go jazz one more time for Rashawn Roland Kirk. I think the original or the Roland Kirk Quartet is you can find it there on Spotify. I don't know a ton of his story. I know he can play two saxophones at the same time. And I know he came up with the name Rip Rag and Panic, which was also the name of the great band that Nina Cherry started in before she went solo. So, I don't know. I can't remember how I found Roland Kirk, but We Free Kings from the Roland Kirk Quartet is just, again, he was a great musician. I think he's passed now, but he used to do some like contemporary covers too. He got treated a little bit like a novelty artist, I think, because of playing two horns at the same time. He was on Blue Note Records for like 20 years. He was literally like the best of the best of the best. And people just remember him for novelty stuff. It drives me crazy. But We Free Kings is a great introduction to him. Everybody should have at least a couple Blue Note records in their record collection. You could do significantly worse than Roland Kirk stuff.
Sidebar warning here. I because you said.
Oh, I know. Look, it's free fire zone. You have at it. You got it.
Yeah. Well, no, just because you said I don't know when the first time I heard Roland Kirk was. I happen to remember the first time I ever heard Roland Kirk.
Oh yeah,
and it was on Night Flight when I was a kid. So
on USA Network, Up All Night.
Yeah.
Nice.
So just because you said it that way, it made me think of the first time I'd ever heard of him, and it happened to have been Night Flight.
See, that memory would have been lost to time. I knew I was going to grow up useful. I just didn't know it would take this long.
So many things. The first time I heard him, I think came from Night Flight. I think the first time I ever heard Jimi Hendrix was on Night Flight, honestly.
Hey, they're on, you can go online and get it. I think they're on YouTube. You can get a subscription and watch all that old stuff, all that old weird stuff they had. You can get almost all of that still. Somebody bought the rights to it, or the original rights holder has all of it online. You should definitely look it up.
Well, I don't know too much about it, but I think there was actually new versions of it on IFC, but it was like just re-editing the old stuff into new episodes. And it was on IFC a few years ago. Yeah,
I remember Gilbert Gottfried hosting a video show overnight when they had like some movie end like 7 minutes before the top of the hour. So they'd let Gilbert Gottfried play videos, and he played the band Blind Idiot God from SST Records, like this totally prog instrumental stuff from outer space. It's great. I love it. The one they made, that first SST record is insane, and then the third one they made only in Japan. These are insane records. Gilbert Gottfried playing Wide Open Spaces by Blind Idiot God at like 3 a.m. when I came home after my shift at Hardee's. I can still transport myself there back to that moment. See, now you have prompted me realizing how important Night Flight was to my youth.
Yeah, I knew there was a danger there.
Oh no, because now we're gonna have to start talking about Radio 1990. No, maybe not. You're up.
Just Van Halen's Jump in a continuous loop.
Yes.
Okay, so my number 10 or no 11.
I think so.
11. Okay. And yeah, I should have used a bonus on that Tom Petty because then I could have had more. But at the end, I think we got to run through maybe a lightning round of some stuff here.
All right.
My number 11, I'm going to go back to Motown for Smokey Robinson and the Miracles and Christmas Every Day. I don't think this was originally released as a single or anything. I don't see any single information on it. It's just a great song. It shows up on a lot of the Motown Christmas compilations, and I think it's easy to overlook it, but it shouldn't be overlooked. It's great, and I think it's a good fit for my list. And that's really all I got on that.
Yeah, I'm now that I know you're going to do you requested a flyby, and I'm not sure your request for a flyby was granted here on the lightning round. I'm going to have to prepare one of my own. That's influencing my selections here. I'm going to go to one where there's a chance there's some crosstalk, and yeah, I'm being a little too on the nose here with talking about Beck again. Sorry, I like what I like. I loved Little Drum Machine Boy when it came out because it's the Hanukkah funk. I can't remember. Was there like a compilation that it was on, or was it a B-side or something?
Yeah, I don't remember if I think it was like a Geffen compilation that came out on.
Yeah, this is that sort of early Beck, the Jabberjaw Beck, the cold ass fashion Beck. Okay.
It was on Just Say Noel. The compilation was Just Say Noel.
Just Say Noel. Yeah, I guess she kind of had to be there. I don't know. I feel like Beck gets respect, but I don't think Beck is feeling a little bit. He's a little KCRW. He's a little WXRT. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure he's being taken seriously, having like fresh new ideas. But when you think about how he came into the world, people thought he was just this endless fountain of innovation. He's just
I don't think you have to be an apologist just because maybe your millennial cohorts.
I've tried I do talk to the kids at work. I do try to slip them a few classic albums because what 20-something isn't sitting around looking for more music recommendations from a 50-year-old white dude? That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, so anyway, just because they aren't listening to Beck now doesn't. I don't want to put much stock into that. I don't think there's anything to be an apologist for here. Beck is a great artist. Maybe his wave hasn't crested or isn't cresting right now. It will. I'm not too worried about that. But it's just like you talk about the Cocteau Twins a little bit ago. In a few months, maybe they're not listened to, and it doesn't mean that they don't deserve it. But that's just the way this goes.
You're right. You're right. Beck was sort of treated still as like a novelty act back when this record came out. You know what I mean? Like he was sort of an alternative. He was alternative, and he was just kind of a parody of himself. The only thing that's different here with the between Beck and the Cocteau Twins is Cocteau Twins probably sell more records now than they did when they were a band. You know what I mean? And I don't know if Beck does. Maybe he does.
I don't know, but it's not going to be. You talk about who's going to be listened to in 100 years. I don't think that who's being listened to right now. I don't think that has any bearing on it. I don't. It's a tortoise and the hare thing.
Well, I mean, no, but history does have a way of validating art. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff that's important and in its time, and then no one else in history cares about it. And then there's stuff that people don't understand in its time, and then it's beloved throughout history. I am not implying Beck is that.
I have no doubt that Beck will have his day. He'll.
All right. I'm counting on it because I certainly spent a little extra for some of those imports, and I was hoping to get a little rebound on selling some of that back. And the secondary market for those $40 Beck Japanese imports, I got to tell you, it's a buyer's market, and it pretty much has been for 20 years. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had to be there.
I feel like if I love somebody the way that I love Beck, that. Even if the world isn't knocking down his door right now, they will.
I'm counting on you.
I don't worry about it.
All right, all right. You're up.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I guess we did have some cross talk on
There
that
we
one.
go.
Yeah. All right. So this is, I guess this is where my list ends, but I do want to go through a lightning round on this. Okay. So, not from a Christmas album, but from a great album, from Joni Mitchell's Blue, the song River, is my capper. I think it's a great way to go out. Even though I guess the one way where this is more of an opener than a finisher is the line in the song is it's coming on Christmas. So really everything here is leading up to Christmas, I guess, if you look at it in that context. So my list is just strictly a pre-Christmas list. You don't listen to it on Christmas Day, although I think it will be fine if you choose to. Um, but anyway, it's a hard. I guess I could put it in the middle of my list, but it's a hard one I think to open with. I don't think it's the right type of song to open with. I think it's a very good one to close out with, though.
I'm going to ask for a judgment here. I have just some songs from the periphery. Would you count December by Teenage Fan Club as eligible for the holiday playlist?
Uh, that's a good question. I thought you were going to say late December by the Four Seasons.
No, December 63 by Frankie Valli. No, Teenage Fan Club, December from Bandwagon-esque. I think I mean, you're a big Teenage Fan Club fan, and I'm sure it drives you nuts when someone like myself, who's not a huge fan, talks about how much they love Bandwagon-esque. But December's a big reason to love Bandwagon-esque.
You're not wrong about that. I mean, Bandwagon-esque I think is fine, but that's kind of where you're. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free, but that's kind of where your Teenage Fan Club knowledge begins and ends, right?
Well, I do love. They had a greatest hits compilation that I bought that I liked a lot, and it had a song called "The World Will Be Okay" that's not on Spotify. I love that. There's a couple. The album right after it I thought was good too, if I'm not mistaken. The curse of Bandwagon-esque is that Spin rated it higher than Nevermind as album of the year for 91 or 92 or whatever the year that was, and they've never lived it down. That's not their fault.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, we've kind of gone over this at some point. I think quite a while back, but I think Teenage Fan Club is just one of those bands, and actually one of those bands in this case that was where it was all like the same record label that did this. Just got signed up, and everything was all one album. Then they follow it up with an album which, honestly, I think is better than Bandwagon-esque, and didn't get promoted at all, and just kind of died a slow death. But they've continued to make good stuff throughout their career. And their time. I think in Scotland, in the UK, I think they've continued. I think maybe they've even grown in popularity over the years. Here, they just kind of were forgotten about, and it's totally unfair. But it's the way that the business works.
Yeah, I'm going to include December in my playlist just because I always listen to it during the holidays. It's not a pure winter song. It really is about December. That's holidays enough. We neither of us mentioned Christmas Wrapping by the Waitresses. I think we both dig that, right? I like the Waitresses in general.
Yeah, but anyway, to wrap up on.
Sorry. Yep. Go.
Just in case people aren't familiar with the song. Really, the only there's no song or there's no line about Christmas or holidays. The line is just, "I wanted to assassinate December." That's really the only line that has anything to do with December or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds good. Sounds good, like driving around in a car on some cool day. That's great. That's a great song for that. All right, let's just knock down a few here and close her out. Waitresses Christmas Wrapping. I think we're both thumbs up on that one, right? But everybody already knows it.
Mm-hmm.
The Holly Golightly Christmas Tree on Fire. We have not talked enough about Holly Golightly. She's a delightful artist and needs to be discussed more. We're both in on her for Christmas Trees on Fire.
Yeah, I like that one.
All right, and then last, you got to pick one James Brown song. One.
Santa Claus Go Straight to the Ghetto.
All right. Merry Christmas, I Love You, I'll take. But keep in mind, and I know we talked about this already, so I won't beat it to death again, but Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud came out originally on a Christmas album. So that's probably the best James Brown song on a Christmas album. It's just, I don't think it's very Christmassy, but what are you going to do? James Brown was a master of the Christmas record, was he not?
Well, yeah, yeah, there's so many good ones that I don't remember what year that one came out, but so many good ones from that era.
They've put out a compilation of all of his Christmas stuff on one compilation. It came out like 10 years ago. It's on Spotify. I can't listen to 2.5 hours of James Brown Christmas, but I know there are people who can, and God bless you.
Yeah, it's its own box set. I wish more artists and bands took the cue from the stuff like that, and from Stevie Wonder and the Phil Spector album, and all those albums, the Beach Boys included in that, just solid end to end. Like they weren't just going for the Christmas single that was going to sell enough to make them whatever money, but then just filling the rest with just garbage, which is what a lot of the Christmas, like like I said, there is a lot of throwaway stuff out there, but there's a lot of good stuff. Like those albums are just legitimately good albums. They weren't just trying to sell the singles and to hell with the rest.
Yeah, there is some. There's a lot of Christmas cash-in that I think makes Christmas album buying a very dangerous undertaking. I love British music, but I don't know what the cultural significance of it is, but apparently there is some cultural significance attached to being the number one seller or the number one record on Christmas Day there. Apparently that's hey everybody, let's have the number one record at Christmas Day type festivity they do there. So I know like the Slade song is famous for having been super popular every year forever and ever. I think that does put a lot of like cash in bad records in the market, just looking for that bump. So
Yeah,
I do forgive people for not wanting to buy albums at Christmas.
It is lucrative. It is a very lucrative thing, but that's why the temptation's there to just get the single taken care of and then just slap together whatever else. I do like this opportunity to just point out which ones are not just the single and a bunch of filler.
Yeah, well, look, we both love the music enough that we're not going to run out of Christmas options for shows to come.
Years. You haven't let me have my lightning round yet, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go for your. You know what? I'm done with my lightning round, and I'm going to clear the way for you.
Okay, so yeah, just a few, because there's tons more that I have, but we'll do this again, and then I'll get more of these on the list. Just I want to quickly go through the ones that were close to making my list. There's still plenty more though. Marshmallow World, Darlene Love again from the Phil Spector record, and also there was a Regrets cover of it that came out a couple years ago, or maybe a couple years ago. I love that song. That's one of my all-time favorites. It wasn't going to make my list because I already had Darlene Love covered. So I couldn't really justify, although it would have been close. Anyway, Calling on Mary by Amy Mann from One More Drifter in the Snow. Amy Mann put together a really good Christmas album, which I think was early 2000s. Let me check that quick. 2006, kind of early, not as early as I thought, but good album, and my favorite track on that. The Charlie Brown Christmas special. I mean, that's a staple for everybody, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Christmas Time is Here and Skating by the Vince Guaraldi Trio. Two of my favorites from that. Speaking, of big Christmas songs in the UK, I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day by Wizard, one of the all-time big ones in the UK. The Ramones, Merry Christmas, I Don't Want to Fight Tonight. Classic staple for me. White Christmas by Otis Redding. Let me see. Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney.
Come on! I thought for sure you were going to just really poke the bear there and say, "Do they know it's Christmas" by Band-Aid, but you did worse. Keep going.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
No. That's fine. Next year, we're talking about Band-Aid for an hour.
Yeah. Flaming Lips, Christmas at the Zoo from Clouds Taste Metallic. Augie Rios, Donde Está Santa Claus. Solomon Burke, Presents for Christmas from King Solomon. There was a Merge album that came out last year that was really good, called "Won't Be Alone Tonight." The title track by Mike Kroll, or no, that wasn't the title of the album. That was just the Mike Kroll song. That's a good song. The Merge Christmas album from last year also has a good track. Christmas Time Is Here by Telekinesis, also a really good one. I have a ton more, but I think I'm just going to wrap up the lightning round with that. Oh, one more.
Yep.
One more.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Bob and Doug McKenzie, Great White North.
Run DMC, everybody knows Christmas in Hollis, which is great. But I'm just going to quick mention this one in my lightning round from a very special Christmas Part 2. Sometimes they always say that the sequels aren't as good as the original, but the track "Christmas Is" by Run DMC, I think, is every bit as good as Christmas in Hollis.
That is a bold statement. That's a very hot take in a cold winter.
That is a hot take. I'm going to sneak in one more.
Goodness.
Billy Squier, "Christmas Is the Time to Say I Love You." Big statement.
But look, you finally found a way to get Billy Squier on. I want to congratulate you. Like, that's a gift that is going to keep on giving.
And I didn't even mention the Stable Singers. Stable Singers, 25th Day of December, also great album. Okay.
Wow. Well, that's a lot of holiday. I think we've made it pretty easy for someone who just wants to have a holiday playlist on and prefers it not be all Mitch Miller. Maybe a little more Mitch Mitchell than Mitch Miller. Although I'm the one putting the Mitch Miller on the list, so I suppose I shouldn't even be doing that. I think we've given people enough for this year. We'll definitely have a we'll definitely, our sleigh will be filled with gifts next year when we meet at this time. Hopefully in a little better cheer.
That's right. Yeah. So I don't know if we're going to do a show next week. We might be taking the week off. We might sneak in with a show, but whatever happens, it will be great. I assure you. Whether or not we're on, it'll be great because 2020 will be coming to an end.
Yeah. Again, it's a holiday show, not just a Christmas show. 2020. Look, we're alive.
That's right.
That's going to have to be enough this year. Hopefully next year is better for everybody. Again, I just don't think anybody looks back at 2020 fondly. I hope we never have any nostalgia for all this stuff, but you never know. You just never know. We'll see. But hope everybody has a better 2021 than 2020 for sure. We appreciate you making it through this far with us. We will be whatever week the next episode comes. We will be up to episode 66, which is a pretty healthy number. Happy to start 2021 there.
Yeah, and it might be the last episode of 2020, or it might be the first episode of 2021.
Only one way to tell. You'll just have to keep checking. We'll be there as soon as we can get it. You'll have it. So happy Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.